Hey guys, well it's another lazy Sunday day today, so we're going to be building a little kit because I don't really want to do anything else that I've got going on. So this is a little sound effects board that I think I picked up from AliExpress, but it might have come from eBay. Either way, I'll put a link in the description if I can find another version for you. But it should be pretty simple. It's just some buttons, a couple of ICs, and a circuit board. So I've put sound effects question mark on there. So I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I do have another board which looks a bit similar, sort of a similar board, and I think this one's the function generator, but I'm not entirely sure. So let's get it out and start building. In fact, let's move the coffee out of the way. You don't need to be seeing that the whole time. So there are no instructions that come with this. So I'm hoping there's a solder mask to tell me where to put all of the components. Well, there is a solder mask, so we can use this to help guide us. Because there are no instructions, I'm glad this is here. It also doesn't tell you how to use it, so we're going to have to figure that out too. I've got my soldering iron fired up and ready to go. So let's start soldering. Oh, this is a buzzer. It must have a built-in... Oh no, it wouldn't have a built-in oscillator, would it? I guess this is doing the oscillation. So we've got a 4066 and a 4011. And we've got some buttons here. There's an S8050. I'm not sure what that is. And then we've got one of these blobbed chips here. That's probably going to go over here, isn't it? I don't know if we've got anything to connect that on with. We'll find out as we go ahead. Right, let's get started. So what are we going to solder on first, actually? We'll probably get on the resistors first. I'm going to need my multimeter to check these, but I can see that all of these ones are the same. So we've got 5 of these, which means they are 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, there are only 4 of the 150k resistors, so it's probably not those ones. Well, it possibly is, actually. Maybe they've just given us an extra one. Let's test them. Yep, they're reading 147, so that's my 150k resistors. So let's pop those there, and we can have a look at the other ones as well. So we've got another one just here. So let's test that. And that is a 632k resistor. 632k. Well, I can only see 162k there, so is that the correct value? Well, it's going in there all the same. And then what else do we have? There's another resistor just here. Oops. That is a 62k, so that one will go there. Oh yeah, there's this 620k there, so that's going to be that one. And then we've got some here which I assume are going to be the 270k ones. Yeah, those are the 270. Okay, so which one was the so this is 62, so let's pop that in there. So there's our 62. These two were 270. Now I'm imagining this sound effects board is going to be utter rubbish, but we'll see. It's only just a lazy Sunday kit, so I'm not worried if it is rubbish. Now what one was this one? My memory is terrible. So this is the 630, so whether my multimeter is reading that correctly or whether the resistor is just not 620, I'm not sure. The solder mask could also be incorrect, so we'll pop that into that bit there. This is R2 apparently. And this one is a 270k resistor. You'll notice this is in glorious 4K. It's because I still have the camera. I'm learning how to use it. I have to use it at work, so I decided it was best if I took it home for the weekend to try it out. And it might mean that I end up buying one in the future, but that is a long way off, unfortunately. I do not have cash to spend on something like that. It would cost a lot. So these ones are 147, so 150. So we'll pop these ones in. A camera like that would cost easily £600. So in that one goes. I'm not quite a YouTube millionaire, so I can't afford to just go off and buy things like that. As much as I would like to start recording in 4K, it's just not really an option. I'm not sure if any of you guys even have devices capable of playing 4K video, or at least seeing it in its native resolution. I certainly don't have a 4K monitor, or TV for that matter. And there's our spare resistor. I can't see another, I do see another one on the board, so there were the right amount. It looks like R3 up there is a 150. Just there. It's quite a nicely laid out board, this one. Right, what else needs to go in? We've got a couple of diodes here. And I'm pretty sure I know which way they go round. So the bar is there and the black bar is there. Let's just double check that with the multimeter though. So positive should go in this end. In fact, let's bring that multimeter over. Multimedia, I keep saying that. Yeah, so there's the right way round. So the black bar on the diode goes to the bar on the board like that. Both of these diodes appear to be the same. I say appears to be, I hope they are. It would not really work. Ah, no, hang on a minute. This one is not the correct diode. And I will tell you how I know, and it's not for, I imagine it's from, it's easier to see because we've got another diode just here, but the little symbol here is a different one. So these are sort of small, what are they, germanium diodes. I'm not quite sure what the term is for these, but these ones are smaller here and this one is a larger diode, so I'm going to assume it's this one that goes up there. And again, we can line the bar to the bar on there. Again, I'm not too bothered if this doesn't work. It would be annoying for you not to see it work. I'm putting a lot of components in here. I think I'm going to turn it over in a second, solder some of these and cut the legs off. Darn. I may well get something wrong as well, just like last time. We'll see though. So there's my big mess of wires on there. Let's turn off the multimeter and then we can start soldering. So because we've bent these leads over, I think it's pretty safe to say that nothing's going to move around too much. I can put my finger on the board to hold it in place. In fact, do you want to come a little bit closer? For the soldering portion. Let's cut a few of these legs off because they're getting a little bit in the way. That one almost landed in my coffee there. There we go, that should make it a touch easier to get to some of the other legs. This is quite, this kind of series of Sunday builds, it's kind of a long format videos, so I'd love to know if you prefer the long format or if it's just nice to have a change occasionally, because I kind of like to make them around 10 minutes or so. I don't think you can necessarily get all of the concepts of a video across in less than that sometimes. I mean, a lot of the time I like to have videos which are shorter than that. If I'm just doing a review of something, so let's say it's a module I picked up or something like that, then I don't mind it being a lot shorter than that, but some of them, you know, it's nice to just be able to have longer videos. Now, if I was being a bit more careful, then I might spend a bit more time doing this, but I don't feel it's too necessary with a kit like this. So actually, I think that's where power might go in. I'm not sure. I can't see a place for the that capacitor. Not immediately anyhow, unless it does go in there. We shall find out. I'm going to go and consult the internet and find out how we connect this little board to here, and whether it really is just using the wire legs off the resistors. Well, after a quick little bit of Googling, it seems that you can just solder this to the edge, which isn't too easy now that I've soldered things on the bottom, so I almost wish that I'd done this first. Let's trim a couple more leads and see if that helps. I still don't know where this capacitor goes, but I'm assuming it goes on power and ground, but I don't see anywhere on the board for it to go, so it might just be a bit of a bodge capacitor. Now these appear to line up. I say appear to line up, they don't line up all that well. If I hold it just like that, they sort of do. There's a little bit of overlap though, which is annoying, so I think what I'll do is I'll solder one side first, and then I'll tack it on. So let's put a bit of solder on this pad here. A little bit more, and then I'll just, well, it'd be really nice if you no, it's not going to, it's going to be tricky. Let's pop a little bit of solder on there too. That is a dirty board. Let's clean it with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol and a toothbrush. And then my hand, because that's obviously going to be very clean. And let's try and solder that. We might have to get the flux out for this. There we are, that's better. Well, my camera managed to cut out there while I was doing this awful soldering, and because I was paying so much attention to this, I didn't notice. However, you missed some of the worst soldering I've ever done in my life. Let me zoom in and show you. It's a little bit dark, isn't it? Let's see if we can brighten that up a little bit. There we go. So it was an edge connector board, so you solder these edges to the other edge of the board, and then I soldered a couple of jumper wires, they're the legs of resistors, over onto these two pins that go to the board, and they go down to this 240k resistor down here. So I assume that's some kind of timing circuit, or part of a timing circuit, and I managed to melt the buzzer there a little bit. I'm sure that won't have too much of an effect. Now before I put these ICs in, we'll zoom back out. We're going to have a look at what happens when I just power it up. Now I've got the battery pack I used in this circuit the other day, and it's just hooked up through the breadboard, so we're just going to throw power and ground on this section here. Now the yellow wire is the positive and white is negative, so let's just throw some power on and see what happens. Oh, so we are getting a noise, but it isn't what I'd say is sound effects. Now the ICs on the board only do selecting, so they're directing these switches and changing the signal that goes into the little chip on. That's annoying, isn't it? That little chip on board there that I've slightly burnt. I'm sure it'll be fine. So let's get these ICs in. I'm just going to roll them a little bit just so that they fit into those sockets a little better. So this one is the 4011, and that is this one here. Make sure it goes the right way round. And that's that one. And this is the 4066. Oh, I've bent a pin slightly there. Just bend that back out. There we go. And then that one goes in this way around as well. And these will be for our switches. Everything appears to have worked properly. Now let's throw in power and ground again and see if it makes a difference. I still haven't done anything with the 100 nanofarad capacitor. I'm not sure if it's required. It was in the box, so I'm going to assume it's required for something, but there are no spare pins, spare holes on the board to put it on. Oh, we get something. Jeez. Okay, some kind of machine gun sound. Oh my word, okay. Right, well let's see if we can find out where power and ground is easily accessible for this, and we'll solder it in. Let's have a look at the back of the board. So we've got power and ground going in here, so power goes across here to this pin there, which is the diode which ends here. So there's our diode just there. And I think if I solder this onto that side of the resistor and then to side of the diode and then to ground, we should be okay. So it is just there, and this is a ground pad just there. So let's solder it across there. And we'll need to cut these down a little bit. I say a little bit, quite a lot actually. There we go, that should be fine. Let's just solder one of those to there. Not going to be the easiest, admittedly, but we'll figure it out. Well, this is already going to be hard. There we are. Let's see if that will let us do it. There we go, and the other one needs to go to the ground pad, which is just there. There we go. Now let's see if that's made any difference whatsoever to the awful noise it was kicking out. I don't imagine it will have. I think that is just the sound that it does make. So, in fact, let's put these in from the bottom, then they'll hold themselves in. So there is power, and we'll pop in ground as well. Oops, a daisy. There's power and ground. They should be pushed up against it nicely. Okay. It does sound better. Well, there we go. I think that's enough of that. Thank you very much for joining me for another lazy Sunday build. If you've got any suggestions on other kits I can build, then please let me know in the comments, but I have a few left to do, so I'll join me on the next Sunday or on the next video I pop out. All right, take care guys.